Alright, we're going to make some bread. Let's get started. First thing first, we need a half a cup of start. So, take this and stir it around a bit. This is going to be honey wheat bread with some brown sugar in it. Okay, what I'm doing here is getting the yeast start. Put that in first. Since I want this to have plenty of rise to it, I'm putting a little bit extra, trying to get everything I can in there. Okay. Right here. Okay. Now we're going to take this and put it in the water. It takes 2.5 cups of water. Make sure that the water isn't warm. Put in the salt. This calls for 2 teaspoons of salt. Okay. You don't want to forget the salt. You don't want to have too much. Okay. To put in a 1/4 cup of brown sugar and a 1/4 cup of honey. Okay. Should work for the brown sugar. Let's get the honey in there. You put the sweet stuff in to counteract the acid that you've got in the start from the lactobacillus. Unless you happen to like sourdough, and then just do what you want. Grab a backup spatula here. Make sure we get all the honey we can here. Don't want to waste it. Okay. Alright, it should get nice and frothy. Here we add the flour and start mixing. Make sure you start the mixer on low. We've added some more flour, so the dough is getting thicker, and we'll run the mixer for 5 to 10 minutes. Here I've rolled the bread out flat with a roller pin. I'm coating the bread with a thin layer of butter because we're making cinnamon bread and the butter will hold the cinnamon and brown sugar in place. I'm spreading out the brown sugar and the cinnamon and then rolling up the bread. This makes a long roll of dough, which isn't a problem because once the bread is in the pan, it just expands to fill the pan and the loaf takes on a normal shape. What I'm going to do now is pinch the seams of the bread so that the loaf won't pull apart and leak sugar and cinnamon while it's baking. If you're making regular honey wheat bread, you can shape the bread like this, but I find it works much better to just take the lump of bread, and make it into a loaf-like shape and put it in the pan. Works much better for sandwiches because it won't have the seams where it can pull apart at. Now, once we have this done, and I'm being careful and pinching it, you want to remember to spray the pan. You'll have a hard time getting the bread out. Here we can see the dough in the pan, and this is the dough after it's risen. Now when I bake this loaf, I put it in the oven before I preheat the oven. I found that this causes the bread to rise considerably while the oven is heating up, which is what you can see right here. When I do this, I just tack an extra 8 minutes onto the bake time of the recipes I use, and this works great.